makes our country tick. The Edge, cutting into the matters at hand.
The views and opinions expressed by participants and callers during this program are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or policies of ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation, its management, or sponsors. The station accepts no responsibility for statements made. Good morning, St. Kitts and Nevis, and welcome to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. I'm your host, Devonne Cornelius, and thank you for joining me on the program for today, Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. When we open the phone lines, you may call us at 465-1977 or 1903 or at 662-8674. That is 465-1977 or 1903 or 662-8674. This conversation is also being carried live via our social media platforms. Check us out on our Facebook page at ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation and via our YouTube channel at ZIZ Online. We are also on TV, ZIZ TV channel 5, and so you may also join the conversation there. For those of you who are listening or tuned in from other parts of the world, whether it be across the Caribbean region and further afield, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are. And thank you for joining today's edition of The Edge here on 96.1 FM. I'm Devonne Cornelius, and we're going to get into a conversation for today, beginning with some news from the police, where they have begun an investigation into what appears to be a multi-vehicle accident in the Monkey Farm area here in St. Kitts early Wednesday morning. And I'm seeing some photos that have been shared via social media, and you can see a number of vehicles, including an omnibus, have been impacted or damaged in this accident. We are also receiving reports that there are multiple injuries, serious injuries at that, as a result of this accident. So the police have launched their investigation, and these people are currently at the Josephine France General Hospital receiving treatment. We continue to encourage our road users to exercise extreme caution. Exercise extreme caution. I don't think we can stress it anymore. Apart from me basically telling our listeners on a day-to-day basis to don't text and drive, don't drink and drive. Not saying those are the causes, but basically encouraging road users to exercise caution. In addition to the police force or the traffic department encouraging people to exercise caution when using the road, we still continue to have accidents. And yes, that is why, not maybe, but that is the name of it, an accident. But I believe that some of these accidents are preventable. They are preventable. A lot of them has to do with excessive speeding. And, speeding unnecessarily. Sometimes they're not even going anywhere. They're already late, really, really late, and they're just trying to rush because they want to get there a little bit sooner. Please, I will continue to encourage our road users to exercise extreme caution when using the road. Always remember that you are not using the road for your own benefit per se, but you have to also be mindful of other road users. You have to be mindful of the pedestrians as well, and let us not be selfish in our approach. St. Kitts and Nevis, a very small country. Our roads, for the most part, are pretty narrow, and so the excessive speed, it doesn't really help. And so please, I am encouraging all of our road users, bus drivers, and every driver and pedestrian under the sound of my voice to please, I'm begging you, exercise caution when on the road. It is 7 minutes past the 11 o'clock hour, and you are listening to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. Still with the police, the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force recently issued a statement, their official thank you to the citizens and residents and all the patrons of the 2025 edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival. And I'll share with you what the statement says. The Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force extends sincere thanks to the general public for their support and cooperation throughout the successful staging of the 2025 St. Kitts Music Festival. The event drew record crowds over all 3 nights and concluded without any major security disruptions, owing in large part to the commendable conduct of patrons and the public at large. We are currently investigating one reported incident of wounding that occurred during the festival, as well as a case of larceny from the person in which a student's handbag was snatched near the old Bastia High School gate as she made her way to the venue. We urge anyone with information that may assist with these investigations to come forward. During the festival, 54 vehicles that were parked illegally were towed. While this figure is notable, we are generally satisfied with the level of compliance observed with the traffic management and parking restrictions implemented around Warner Park and surrounding areas. We thank the public for their continued support and cooperation, and we encourage all to maintain this spirit of responsibility as we look ahead to the other major events. Your efforts have contributed to the safety and enjoyment of all, and we remain committed to working with you to ensure secure and orderly public gatherings across the Federation. It is 11:10. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation here on The Edge. Stay with us.
Want to get away? The Uwali Beach Resort is calling your name. Whether you're dreaming of a romantic escape, a family adventure, or a peaceful retreat, Uwali has it all. Relax in comfort, enjoy fresh local and international cuisine, and soak up the sun on the best beach in Nevis. Take advantage of our staycation special, exclusively for citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. Ready to book? Call us at 469-9735 or 662-9735. Email reservations@uwalibeach.com. And don't forget to use promo code ZIZ. Your escape starts now.
The Caribbean Caribbean's greatest summer festival, Antigua Carnival 2025, July 25th to August 5th. Get ready for music, mass, band, flex, and non-stop vibes. Mark your calendar and don't miss a single show, a single fete, a single unforgettable moment. This is more than Carnival. This is the ultimate experience. Follow the vibes. Instagram at Antigua Festival Official. Facebook at Antigua Carnival. Vibe responsibly. Antigua Carnival 2025. It's a vibe.
It's a vibe, it's a vibe. Come alive for me.
Join us every Wednesday for In Focus, a weekly talk show produced by the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. In Focus, your government, your business.
Welcome back to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. I'm Devonne Cornelius and thank you for joining me on the program for today, Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. It is 13 minutes past the 11 o'clock hour and we are going to begin opening the phone lines now. You may call us at 465-1977 or 1903 or at 662-8674 to lend your voice to the conversation at hand. For those of you who are just tuning in, I shared that the police have launched an investigation into an accident that reportedly involves multiple vehicles in the Monkey Farm area. I am seeing via social media some photos with quite a number of vehicles. So it looks like a major collision happening there. And so the police, they are currently investigating that. And we continue to encourage road users to exercise extreme caution when they're on the road. St. Kitts and Nevis is a very small country. And if you're already late, I am pretty sure that the excessive speed is not going to help you. It is going to put your life and the lives of your passengers and the pedestrians at risk. And so I am encouraging our road users to please, I beg of you, take it easy on the road. You know, we just concluded the 2025 St. Kitts Music Festival. And from reading the report from the police, or the statement from the police, it is good to see that for the most part, people adhered to the traffic laws and did their best to be compliant with what the police had been asking. And so that is really, really good and commendable. Of course, the police are reporting that they have launched an investigation into a wounding incident that occurred during the festival, and they, of course, as the information becomes available, we are going to share that. But for the most part, it was a really good festival in terms of people behaving themselves and not, supporting the fun for everybody else. That is really, really commendable. But we continue to encourage people. When you attend these events, if you know you're going to come to fight and cause confusion, stay home. Don't come. If you know that you and somebody plan to have it out at the festival or at whatever major event, tap home. not come, because you're going to come and you're going to spoil it for everybody else. The purpose of these events is entertainment, musical entertainment, not that kind of entertainment with the fighting and the back and forth and all of that. It is totally unnecessary. And so the police need to make an example out of these people. And sometimes when you hear what they're fighting for, you can't believe. It's like you walking through the music festival crowd and you match somebody by accident and they're ready to bang you. I'm like, if you're going to music festival or you're going to any crowded event, expect that you're going to get mashed. Somebody might walk and brush you on the side, and not deliberately, not intentionally, but yeah, it's going to happen, you know. But we really need to leave our bad behavior at home. We really need to leave our bad behavior at home. But I want to continue a conversation as it relates to age requirement. This is a conversation that has been going on now for quite some time, not just for the St. Kitts Music Festival, but generally for events happening here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I've seen other places where you go to attend an event and they have an age requirement for that event. They would ask you to present an ID. And so I think one of the steps, or one of the first things, or set of things that could be done is, event promoters, whenever you are having an event, don't wait on the police or on the authorities to say that you have to have an age requirement or you have to present IDs. As the event promoter and the organizer, I think you would have that right to say if you want people who are 18 years and older, or 21 years and older, 25, 30, 35, whatever the type of event is. But I will never understand how people who are younger than 18 or younger than 16 are allowed to attend events that are intended for adults. You know, we know what these events bring, we know what the package is like at these events, and quite frankly, you know, it's not an environment that children ought to be in. People make the argument that, well, the responsibility needs to fall at the feet of the parents. And while I could understand what they're thinking when they make that statement, I think it is more effective. It is more effective if it is instituted at the gate by the authorities. Because if a parent decided that they were going to send their 15-year-old or their 14-year-old to music festival this year, I don't think there's anything that I could say to deter them from doing that next year or the year after that. And so you started at the gate. You show up to music festival and you say, can I see your ID? I don't see an issue there. And even people who know that they are older than 18 just comply. I find sometimes we make things difficult when they ought not to be, and we turn an issue. We make a non-issue an issue. For what? For what reason? What are you trying to accomplish with that? So that is something that needs to be seriously looked at. You know, at the music festival, you had the high rise, where for the smokers. That took some time because over the years people were complaining about complaining about the smoking and so on. You want jumping in the conversation, man? people were complaining about the smoking, and so the organizers said, "Hey, we're going to have a high-rise zone for specifically for smokers." So maybe it's something that is going to take time.
All right. Well, just want to say good morning, one and all. Cupid here. Been listening to the conversation, and the first point I want to make is about the adult event. What makes it an adult event? We are in 2025, and if an artist goes on stage at 1 a.m. and says the 4-letter word for feces, persons get offended. So what makes it an adult event? Is it the time that it is happening? Because if that teen is accompanied by a parent, does that make it then okay? Right? That's the first thing I want to raise. Because we say it's an adult event, but we expect the entertainers to dial it down as if it's PG-13, but yet still have a problem if a parent decides, I am going to a VIP or a sponsored suite, or hey, I might go on general and I want to walk with my 15-year-old, 16-year-old. Does that make it okay? Smokers Lounge. No, my issue with the Smokers Lounge was, as you said, it took years and many complaints from individuals saying that there are persons in the crowd smoking. I was told that some of that happened this year because I made a post personally on social media, and my post was plain and simple this: if you're not smoking, or if you're not with someone that's smoking, if you're not high from smoking, you weren't supposed to be in the Smokers Lounge sitting on a seat like it's a seated area for individuals.
It's a Smokers Lounge.
Yes, the purpose of that area was for individuals who are partaking in weed. Well, some people complain about cigarettes, but I say at an event like this where the crowd is so thick, I say smoking is smoking. All right? So I personally had no problem if somebody was in there smoking a cigarette, because ain't everybody like the smoke. Whether it's weed smoke, cigarette smoke, ain't everybody like it. There are people who smoke marijuana who might have an issue with me saying that cigarette smoker shouldn't be there, but look at it from the aspect of someone might be in the crowd suffering from asthma, and smoke is smoke to that person, be it marijuana smoke or cigarette smoke. But my problem was, you have individuals going up there and taking a seat and eating. You're not smoking nothing. And I don't want to sound heartless, even though that's how it might come over, but it wasn't an area for older people to go and have a seat because you are tired either. When I put that post on social media, someone who I think he used to be a police officer and he's now in security said, well, he saw individuals in the crowd smoking. I said, well, you should have reported them, because when I wanted to do it, I made sure I found the smoking area. Correct. That's what it's designated to do. So I would have been upset as a smoker if I saw someone in the crowd smoking, which I did. But I ain't no security. I ain't no police, no nothing. No, so I can't tell them, hey, you're not supposed to be doing it here. But if any security or police individual saw someone in the crowd or anywhere at the music festival smoking, and they shouldn't be doing it in that area, they should have been either thrown from the event or made accompanied to the smoking area. I did not agree with having people who not smoking up there eating. I see a man sleeping, man come up, pull a chair and went to sleep.
I saw somebody with a fold-up chair. They came to the event and they brought their fold-up chair, and they sat there in the general section, which I totally understand. As for me, when I was at the festival, my feet got extremely tired because you're standing there the whole night. I sat on the ground. And I understand the point that you're making. The Smokers Lounge is for smokers. You can't go in the Smokers Lounge to sit down and eat and complain when people go in the Smokers Lounge and smoke. It is the Smokers Lounge. But you asked the question earlier, Cupid, about what makes an adult event an adult event, or what makes an event an adult event, right? And there's several tiers or several factors. One, the time. An event that begins at 9 p.m. and you know it's going to run until 2, 3, 4 a.m., you don't expect to see somebody in grade 6 there, whether they're there with their parent or not.
Grade 6 is kind of young. That's which but is why I said teen. I said 14, 15.
Okay, but you don't expect to see children at an event that begins at 9 p.m. that will run until the wee hours of the morning. You expect to see grown folks. You expect to see adults. So one is time. Two, the type of the package that is being offered. So the music and the different acts that are happening. You don't expect to see a child at an event where Spice is performing, because you know Spice is going to come with what Spice comes with. You know, her full package, right?
And for adults, sheets. Always got fresh sheets.
For adults who go to these type of events, if you are not into Spice music and you are not into Cartel's music, don't go.
Facts.
Like, stay home. But for people who are into that type of music and really don't mind listening or hearing the music, you can't be upset with them for going. If that is not your style, stay home. But again, I don't expect to see a child at an event where Spice or Cartel or any one of those artists performing. So time and what is being offered, I think, like the package is what would make an event an adult event. You made the point about a parent coming there with their child. Then that is on the parent, because I mean, speaking for myself, I wouldn't carry any of my nieces or nephews to music festival. None of them past the age of 18. My first music festival was 2019 when I made 19. That's just me,
young,
right? But I don't expect to see children at an event where you know adult things are happening. Think about it like a movie. Frozen is a child-friendly movie, and so you expect children to watch the movie. You don't really expect children to be watching those, what do you call them kind of movies, boy? Them a load of shooting and cussing and sexual activity and them kind of stuff there and so on. So for me, it's the time and what is being offered at the event is what would make it an adult event. But in these days, you know, to be honest, you can't really tell people what to do with their children. But the authorities can dictate who attend the events.
All right, just wanted your opinion on what makes it an adult event, because no, let's move away from the kids part. No, as an adult, we know what Spice brings. We know what Vibes Cartel brings. Why is it that in 2025 at 3 a.m. in the morning, when these persons are performing, they are into it, and an obscene word comes out and everyone is shocked? And we have this, we go back to what happened with 50 Cent that made us viral. Locking up Curtis Jackson, that made us viral, because to this day he still jokes about that. But 3 a.m. in the morning and somebody busts a bad word. Let's just drop it raw. Somebody busts a bad word, and there are persons in the crowd, lock them up. Like, we are going, you know, a bad word be? You know that there was a chance that this person might forget that, hey, I have to sing a clean version, because as I said, you know, you wrapped up in the hype, the energy, you're feeding from the crowd, and persons are making that an issue. So that is that is why I ask, what makes it an adult event? Because as an adult, come on, we all know what these words are.
We use them.
Song and yes, it's like
we hear them every day. But I'm glad that you mentioned that, right? And I'm gonna say something. a lot of it is hypocrisy, you know.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why it is hypocrisy. So you go to, let's use music festival just gone, Spice performance, X-rated, you know.
Yeah, man, clean sheets though. You must respect the fact that Spice is a very clean lady. She brings clean sheets every time.
But you know, so let's use her performance as an example. There were people who were like, "Oh, Spice shouldn't be doing that. Or the music festival committee shouldn't have brought her here." What Spice did on stage is no different to what happens at some of the bars, some of our backyard parties, and in everyday conversation. Some of the lyrics that Vybz Kartel sang on stage are things that we say every day.
Facts.
When we meet up with the brethren, when we finish work, we go down by the bar, we throw down to Skull a load of bad water, and nobody says anything. But Kartel comes here, and Kartel lego some F-bombs on the stage, or 50 Cents lego some F-bomb on the stage, and we are so outraged. Oh my God. But you're doing the same thing every day down by the ferry terminal. A load of bad word. The smoking and cussing, and that has become the norm. But you want to be outraged, and I call it fake outrage. But you want to be outraged when it happens on the stage, but you're doing the same thing every day. In our family gatherings. You understand?
Facts.
These things happen every day. We do them every day. So why is it that we want to be so outraged? And then you made the point that if it is an adult event, and this is not me advocating for it to happen, but if it is an adult event, just as how you operate at the bars down by the ferry terminal and the bars over there and over there with a load of bad word, you are going to get the same thing at an adult event. So if they bring in Spice, Spice is going to bring Spice. Kartel is going to bring Kartel. Because when you finish work and you go down by the ferry terminal bars, them, you're bringing your authentic self. And you're telling a sweet piece of story. And that story ain't going to come across as good unless you use a couple of bad words.
Yeah, man, I know what I do sometimes.
So
you need that emphasis.
For me, I see a lot of it as a fake outrage, because we like to say that we are a Christian society, right? How are we a Christian society, Cupid, if the Gospel Night for Music Festival couldn't survive?
Oh, don't even go to that, because
I want to go there.
I don't think some people might not like my response.
I want to go there.
No, the Gospel Night for Music Fest couldn't survive, plain and simple, because the Christian society didn't come out to support it.
That's what I'm saying. So how are we a Christian society? And apart from that is the people who are saying that we are a Christian society, if the church put on an event today and say $40, oh, the church like too much on money, and ray. But we spend $1,600 to go to VIP. The same people in church, the secretaries and the ushers and the choir members and
but
so on.
what are they doing in music festival?
I don't know.
That's the whole thing. If it's not for you, you should not be
So
there.
when I hear people say, "Oh, we're a Christian society," stop it.
What you there?
Stop it. Stop doing that. Stop being disingenuous with this fake outrage. You're a Christian society, but when the church put on an event, when the church is asking for money to help the poor and the needy and the this and whatever, you make a whole heap of noise. Oh, that is too expensive. So I think people say it because it sounds good. You know, it's like a good excuse. And they use that as like a scapegoat. We're a Christian society and people shouldn't be coming here and rattling off F-bombs on the stage. But when we're home and we're cooking and we're in the backyard and we're chatting and we're liming, we do it non-stop in front of our children. And then we wonder why our children turn around and do the same thing in the schools. I mean, what do we really want as a society? I would just like to talk.
That's it, right? Say it again for the people in the back. You just hit the nail on the head. Say it again.
I think these conversations are necessary, Cupid, because I mind you, I listen to people and I hear what they have to say and so on these different things. But I like to go deeper and I like to think deeper. And like some of you guys are respectfully not being genuine.
I would have seen the turnout for the. Okay, we have a phone call. Let's take this.
Okay. Call it. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air, caller. Go ahead.
Yeah, good day. I'm good. I'd like to differ a bit from your perspective. So first of all, I'm not clear about the designated smoking area. Was it totally enclosed? It wasn't, right?
No.
Totally enclosed, meaning you had guardrails and there was an opening where you walked through to go through. Yeah.
Yes, but that's the thing about smoke, right? Guardrails can't stop smoke.
Yeah, but because of the position of the hill, it would not have blown back down to the main crowd. It would have actually blown over the bars and headed towards the football stadium. And then, a lot of the bars had grills and stuff like that. So by the time your weed smoke reached down there, mixing with chicken, pork, fish, all kind of things. So, yeah.
So generally, people, non-smokers, would have been protected from people who wanted to smoke.
If all smokers went into the designated smoking areas, should have been. Yes.
Right, but obviously from some reports, they spilled over into other areas.
Sadly,
and I'm wondering. I don't think banning smoking for the festival would have affected whether people went or not. To be quite honest, right? And there are places that have no smoking in public places, period. Right? And I doubt very much, well, I suspect very few people would not have gone on any of the nights simply because smoking was banned. That's one. Okay? So basically, they were just accommodating. It wasn't that whereas smoking can be a life or death and death matter for some people, it isn't for smokers, I don't think. All right? That's the first thing. The second thing, I don't think it's so much about us being a Christian society. Right? It's about having standards. If you don't have standards and anything goes, then virtually everything goes, right? It's a spiral downward, so God knows where it would end. So you must set some kind of standard at some point. Because even with expletives, there are some words that are worse than others. The S word may not be as bad as the F word, or the C word, or the B word. Right? So we have to set some kind of standard. And if there's a contractual arrangement for an artist not to do certain things, you shouldn't break the contract. That's not professional. Right? I wouldn't excuse it by saying, well, something slip out and those kinds of things. That's a stretch. I feel they deliberately did it because they know the reaction it would cause. Right?
But
so once there's a contractual arrangement, they should adhere to the contract.
Right. I wanted to engage you a bit. I agree with you in terms of if there is a contractual arrangement, you agree to what is in the contract. That is totally understood and accepted. But you made mention of not it not being really about a Christian society, but having standards, and that we are to set standards, right? But when you say set standards, should it just be standards for what is happening in the public domain? Shouldn't it be standards for all of us? You know,
for public events, yes.
But then,
right?
but that is where the hypocrisy comes in, because if we're not going to have a certain level of expectation or standards for our own selves, then how can we expect creatives and performers and people who perform at public events to do different when we ourselves are not doing it? Because quickly, we can't, if we bring Vybz Kartel here, we know what Vybz Kartel is coming with. He's coming with his authentic self. He's coming as a performer. Vybz Kartel is not a chef who performs as a side gig. Vybz Kartel is a performer. That is what he does for a living.
Well, the thing is, Vybz Kartel has poetic license, so to speak. He's an artist, and generally an artist has, well, for one thing, he can do whatsoever he will with his art form. Okay? It's up to us to accept it or don't. It's also a fact that there's a difference between an artist performing and reflecting what's out there in society, as you mentioned, that these things happen all the time, right? But there's another thing for us, or for, let's say, the society in general, or the leaders in society, to adhere to what the artist and the society feels is the standard, or to set the tone, set the standard, because that is what leadership is about. Okay, so you have to differentiate between the two. Okay, and one other thing, in other words, what I'm saying is, cartel will be cartel, as you mentioned, and who else will be who else that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Yes, okay, but in the selection and those sorts of things, we have to be mindful of what we're trying to achieve. Okay, and if in fact that we are putting, we're absolutely concerned with the economic stuff, sure, fine, okay. But if it is about shaping a society, then you have to think twice. Mm-hmm. Okay? I'm not saying that you go back to being a food or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying that you have to think twice about the things that you do, right? And the things that you encourage. And lastly, yesterday, I think a point was made. Somebody was asking about how much it costs. There should be how much he was contracted for. Of course, you can, for one thing, if it was a contract, it probably wasn't the contract that there's a non-disclosure agreement as to how much. And it makes absolute sense for you not to give the amount, because that basically you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot for future artists coming here. They're knowing exactly what the contract amount you're willing to pay and those kinds of things. Okay? But at the same time, remember, it is government-sponsored with public funds. And there's a rule in essentially, it's not adhered to all the time, but there's a rule basically that if it's public funds, it should be publicly accounted for. Right? I think somebody was asking, would you like, if you're a civil servant, that your salary was disclosed? In fact, it is. Everybody can go to the estimates and see what any civil servant wants to know the position that they're making. So it's not the same thing.
But it's not inaccurate.
And so what we should do, really, since the music festival has grown to the point where it can be seen to be profitable in a wide sense, it's farm it out to a private enterprise where those kinds of things remain even if it's subsidized by government or somehow, it should not be just a government activity, because the accountability would be different for if it's a private promoter.
Okay, caller, we want to take some more calls. So thank you so much for your contribution to the program. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Good morning. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
And good morning to the listeners from Manabua, Carl Brown here. Guys, the topic is very interesting. Also hypocritical, because we can't want a standard out here in the community when it suits us, and then we want a standard at festival, carnival, any kind of entertainment you're putting on. We got to be straight. It's either we want a community or what we say a nation standard, or we want a standard, and we want a church standard. We got to make one standard. We got to make what we want. And the thing about adults, children attending adult performances are adult indulged. We have a misunderstanding. Child and adult are trying to want to say something that is an adult, and then they still tell you that it's a school child. Because they've been going college or going to a high school still. And then still want to tell them they can get a social security card and go to work. Social security card is not for children. For adults. Right? And we so-called standard them. We have it only set for when we shoot us, and when we want to make it a technology issue and a political issue. We got to make up our mind where we want. And here is it. I am giving them an advice, and I've been giving them this advice all the time. Any entertainment or performance is put up. You must produce the ID at the gate, and not because you got your ticket. Because you can machine manual, and the machine clear you and you go in, and nobody know what your age be. And then when you look, you could hear today on the talk show, not the children was at the event. And it's never for them. And last thing, I'm not honest.
Quickly.
She want to go partying. Music festival and want to walk with she 14 or 15 year old. No. You are at the gate. They are once they say and see that this is a school child, you let him know you have to go and secure your child. If you want to, the father, whoever is the adult there, if you want to come back to the event, that child needs to be secured in the safe arms of an adult. And you cannot take it. So you can't make up your mind. You must start producing, not just put a machine on you and sort you, that you produce your ID to prove that you're worthy to be at the event.
All right, caller. And I think we can take just one more call, and then we're going to wrap up a bit early before the midday news. But with regards to what the caller was saying about, salaries for public servants being made public, yes, you can go to the estimates and see the salary scale. What you are unable to do is to find out. So John Doe works for the Ministry of Education, and John Doe's scale is $3 to $5. John Doe has his different years of qualification and years of experience. So that John Doe gets between 3 to 5, but you don't know if John gets $3.50, $3.75. You don't see what John Doe's bank account information is like. You don't know what are the other benefits listed in his remuneration package for his job. But I understand and I hear those persons who believe that the figure should be made public for people performing at the music festival, and I firmly disagree. And I'm standing firm in my position on that. I respect your opinion. I really do. It doesn't mean that I have to agree. We will be shooting ourselves in the foot if we start to release figures. Because if you're telling me that you're going to pay me $10,000 to perform at the Singers Music Festival, when in fact you're paying the other performers who performed in the same night as me $6,000, then the St. Kitts Music Festival Committee or the Ministry of Tourism or the St. Kitts Tourism Authority would be spending a considerable amount of time to justify or explain why I got 6 and you got 10.
As an entertainer, I could answer that for you as an entertainer. There are scales, just like how there are scales in government.
Yes.
There are scales in entertainment. If you decide to host an event and that event is $200 at the gate, the persons paying that $200 have to see the reason on your lineup why they are paying $200. Nothing against our local acts. I love them. I play the music every day. I drive in, I hook up my phone to the Jeep, and I playing them. I know most of them songs like the back of my hand, and I ain't means what it just start singing the other day. Kadijua ain't just sing the other day. Simone ain't just start singing the other day. You check, these people ain't just start the other day. But people going to travel from America, UK, other regional Caribbean countries to come and see them? That is the question. And that is why some people are going to be paid more than some. It is a simple demand and supply. You demanding the people demand this kind of entertainment, so you have to supply, and in supplying you have to pay for what you are supplying. It is that simple. It is not rocket science. It's not trying to say, oh, our artists are not good enough, our performers can't perform. It's nothing like that.
Cupid, in the system you have teacher, trained teacher, and trained graduate teacher. Teacher, trained teacher, and trained graduate teacher. All of them get a different scale because of their years of experience and the training and qualifications that they received. And that brings us to the end of this edition of The Edge. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. Until next time, you guys stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Don't drink and drive. Don't text and drive. Coming up at noon, our midday newscast.